Today I want to share the 5 things I did to improve my discipline with food. First though, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just do it, okay? And then also please follow me on Instagram at vegan_attempts, as well as my other page where I discuss things related to growth and self-improvement. And that page is called 21_attempts. Number 1, commit over the long term. One of the most powerful things I did for myself on my health journey was to stop thinking that resolving my challenges with food or developing a sense of discipline around food was a 21-day project. I had to learn that it was a long-term goal and that I had to work at it for as long as it took to get it right. And so I developed a sense of patience and I committed to the goal over the long run. In other words, I committed to trying until I got to a point where I was satisfied with my relationship with food. Number 2, practice. I actively practiced self-discipline around food by setting myself meal plans on a weekly basis and trying to stick to them. I did this countless times, and at first I would only be able to stick to the meal plan maybe for 2 or 3 days before getting interrupted by a social event or by a personal problem, which then led me to McDonald's. But I tried. Every week or every month I would set a strict meal plan for myself and try to stick to it. And over time, I started being able to increase the number of days that I could stick to my meal plan. Number 3, I studied my relationship with food. I became a student of my relationship with food. I would observe what foods I would crave at what time of the month. I would observe what foods I would crave at what time of the day. I would observe how food would make me feel, how food would impact my body. And I did this over an incredibly long period of time. And what I would do is I would gather all this information and I would basically try to use it to improve my next meal plan, my next strategy with regards to how I was going to develop discipline around food, or how I was going to train myself to have discipline with food. Number 4, I removed the relationship of guilt with food. It's amazing how much emotions play into how we eat and our relationships with food. I realized much earlier on, and I tried to stop having a relationship of guilt with food. Whenever I would trip up and eat food that would leave me feeling crappy, I would simply just observe that behavior in a non-judgmental way, and I would try and avoid feeling guilty about it, but rather see that incident as information that I would then put into my database, which I would then use to continue to develop a health plan for myself that I would be able to sustain. Number 5, I practice what I call the bounce back. What I mean by the bounce back is once you have tripped up and eaten food that leaves you feeling crappy, whether it's because it makes you feel bloated or because it makes you feel sick actually, then you need to bounce back and get back on your health plan as soon as possible. I don't know if you've behaved the same way in the past, but I would do this thing where I would actually set a meal plan for myself, stick to it for a couple of days, and then have this one random day where I just trip up and end up stuffing my face with a ton of pizza. And then I would feel sick because I've got irritable bowel syndrome. My stomach would hurt and I would wake up the next morning feeling horrible. And instead of going, what should I do? Let me go and actually get back on my meal plan. I would think, well, I've already eaten unhealthy food. I'm already feeling crappy. I might as well just eat crappy food for the rest of the weekend. And then of course that weekend would turn into a week, which would then turn into a month. And so that one bad incident or that one cheat day would turn into a cheat month. What I then learned was the importance of bouncing back and doing so as soon as possible. So what happens is if you happen to have a day where you trip up and you end up eating a ton of cake or a ton of pizza or a burger and fries and Coke or whatever it is that you binge on, instead of then binging again in the next meal or the next day, you simply bounce back. You recognize that you had a moment, right? And then what you do is you bounce back. The next day, you make sure that you start your day with a healthy meal and you get back on track again. That's what I mean by the bounce back. It is essential. It's important because, yes, of course, no matter how healthy you are, no matter how good you are with your diet, you will obviously have moments where you trip up. And the important thing is, if you do and when you do, you simply just bounce back as quickly as possible. So those are the reasons that I have for you today that you can think about. The most important thing is to really try and improve your relationship with food by developing an amicable relationship with your own emotions and the connections that you have with food. And you can do this, I think, by really taking your relationship with food currently as a neutral thing that you observe and study and learn, or rather something that you're curious about and that you work on improving gently and kindly over the long term. As I always say, I am absolutely not a dietitian or a doctor or anything of that kind. I am simply an amateur. I've had a couple of experiences with food. My relationship with food has been particularly difficult, and so it's something I feel very strongly about and want to talk about and share my experiences with here online. If you need medical help, please still see your medical practitioner. I just think that it's a very powerful thing that we do online, particularly here on YouTube, which is to share information and to develop communities that basically help and support one another. That's all I have for today. Have a wonderful week, and I wish you all the best with your health endeavors or anything else that you're trying to achieve. The important thing I always say, you gotta try until you get it right.